निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखात् अमृतद्रव संयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः. In our journey of drinking the nectar of Bhagavatam, we have been relishing several scintillating conversations. Now, across the Bhagavatam, we find several gems, conversations in which deep philosophical truths are embedded. Conversations where profound philosophy is explained through various practical analogies. One such beautiful conversation that Krishna narrates to Uddhava is the conversation between Bhagavan's own Hamsa and Sanat Kumaras. We have been relishing what is popularly celebrated as Hamsa Gita. And we have almost come to the very end of this conversation, the concluding part of Hamsa Gita. What really strikes when we look at the concluding part of Hamsa Gita is how it connects back to where it starts. And it has been quite a while since we started Hamsa Gita. Let me ask you this question. Who remembers what was the question that triggered off Hamsa Gita? I think ever since that session, many of us even stopped asking anyone in this question, who are you, isn't it? We discussed at length why this question, who are you, asked by Sanakadis to Bhagavan, is a wrong question. But the culmination of answer to that question, why the question, who are you, is a wrong question, happens right here in the conclusion. Over the last couple of weeks, we have looked at how Bhagavan, in the process of explaining the reasons for bondage and the path to liberation, he basically reveals profound truths. Now, in many ways, the question that was asked is on identity, but Bhagavan reveals much more than his identity. He reveals reality. In the last session, we looked at 4 important shlokas, which essentially leads to the concluding part of the Hamsa Gita. Through these shlokas, Bhagavan explains as to how do we understand this material world. How do we understand this material world which is characterized by diversity? He points out to what is the underlying truth amidst all the diversity that we engage with in this world. How do we understand nature of this world? Then he also explains how, while the experience that we undergo keeps, the states of the experiences keeps changing, the experiencer remains the same through varying states of experience. And every experience is nothing but fluctuation of the mind. And he also shows the root cause for bondage. Now, let us quickly summarize and understand the nature of our experience, which then leads into today's shloka. How do we understand our experiences? When we talk about experience, we have the objects of this world, the world with which we engage. There are events, situations that happen outside. There are different kinds, there is variety all around. And then the variety that is out there is presented to the mind which happens to be the instrument of the conscious being, the indweller within a physical embodiment. The mind is also part of that physical configuration. There is a physical body, the senses, the mind, and the intelligence. The mind then not only receives what is out there, it also does something much more than receiving the stimuli. The mind works on the stimuli and interprets. So this is where what is out there becomes something else out within here, inside. Because what is out there, when it is received by the mind starts to interpret it. That's where the likes, dislikes, what is fear, what is not feared, various kinds of labels are then assigned to everything that is received in the mind. It becomes an experience, and then something also happens beyond that. The experiencer identifies with the experience. This is experience by itself is not a problem. Experiences of different kinds are not the problems. The problem is the identification of the experiencer with the experience. Now, the Atman, which is the conscious being, the indweller in the body, is the experiencer, no doubt. But the question that needs to be asked, do the experiences belong to the experiencer? The experiencer, does the experiencer own the experiences? Now, where are the experiences happening? The experiences are happening in the field of Prakriti. Because the Atman, which is embodied, operates in the field of Prakriti, it goes through a series of fluctuations of the mind, and there are experiences of different kinds. Now, there is a choice to the experiencer whether to identify with the experience or not to identify with the experience. The experiencer is also the knower. Now, the knower, when it identifies with the experience as its own, that is what we call as bondage. Bondage is nothing but this strong identification of the knower with experiences which are not intrinsic to the experiencer. No, this is what needs to be understood carefully. The Atman is the experiencer, but the experiences are not intrinsic to it. They are acquired. Pain and pleasure, joy and sorrow, they are all acquired states. The fluctuations in the mind, which results in varied states of the mind, are all acquired states. They are not intrinsic. But what happens is when the experiencer identifies with it, it becomes part of its identity. So every experience, therefore, starts to identify, starts to define one's identity. An event occurs, and that event is labeled success. Then the identification happens, I am successful. An event occurs, it is then labeled failure, and then an identification happens, I am failure. A disturbance in the mind, an emotion which is anger happens, an identification happens with it. I am anger. So what happens is every experience goes into defining the identity of the experiencer. Essentially, this is what is bondage. So therefore, Krishna points out to how the knower, who is also the experiencer, must realize that only when this identification is cut with the sword of discernment, only then there can be liberation. The world will remain as is. It will keep changing all the time. The variety and diversity will remain as is. That is the nature of Prakriti. But then the conscious being, the consciousness is fragmented because of its identification with this diversity. Diversity is not the problem. Identification with diversity is the problem. So this is where Krishna points out to the root cause of bondage. And then he leads into this concluding part of the Hamsa Gita. Very profound. Drishtim tatah pratinivatya nivritti trishnaha tushnim bhaven nija sukhanubhavo niriha sandrishyate kvacha yadidam avastu buddhya tyaktam brahmayana bhavet smritiranipatat. Now he is talking about the one whose vision is being corrected. Essentially, it is not about doing anything to the world. It is about correcting our vision of the world. He says, Drishtim tatah pratinivritya. Drishti, the vision, when a person turns inward, the orientation of awareness turns back from outward to inward. Because normally the mind is oriented outward. Our awareness is scattered outward. Drishtistata pratinivritya. When the direction changes, the orientation turns inwards. Pratinivritya, turning back. Essentially, it is not physically withdrawing from the world. It is essentially withdrawing our attention and awareness to the inner world, redirecting our own attention to our inner world. Nivrita trishnaha. What happens? The compulsive thirst for completeness through what is external subsides, Krishna says. When we are identified with the world, and what we are identified with is constantly changing. Therefore, we are always lost in terms of who we are, because our own identity is constantly changing all the time. We are constantly seeking something or the other because there is always this lack. We are never complete in ourselves. And the search for completeness is constantly on. And only when that identification ceases, all of a sudden, that compulsive thirst for finding our identity in the outside world subsides. It says, Nivritya Trishnaha. Trishna here is the thirst for completeness by identifying with the external world. Then he says, Tushnim bhaven nija sukhanubhave niriha. The mind settles quietly and one begins to experience the inner joy. Ultimately, joy is intrinsic to us. It is, happiness is not to be searched outside. It is not, fulfillment is not there out in the world. Fulfillment is something out there within. So therefore, tushnim bhaven. Contentment comes naturally the moment this identification with the world stops. He says, Nija sukha anubhavaha. Nija sukha. Nija sukha is happiness which belongs to us, rightfully so. And how does it happen? Nirihaha. Becoming free from restlessly striving. In our own normal day-to-day life and living, we sometimes, when we reflect on this, it strikes us. the more we strive for something, the more we chase after going after something, the more unhappy we are. We keep striving for things, thinking that that's something that we strive for eventually is what is going to make us complete and make us truly happy. And then after we attain what we have been striving for, we still find out that we have been as restless as we were before we started that striving. It's just that we continue, the striving still continues because we still remain incomplete. Nirihaha, becoming free from this restless striving, knowing that no amount of striving is going to bring me that completeness. Sandrishyate kvacha yadidam avastu buddhya. Now, the moment I recognize that I am complete, by nature, by itself, I am complete, and I am content, self-content, then sandrishyate kvacha yadidam avastu buddhya. Even after when I engage with the world, experiences of all kinds will come and go, because events will unfold which are not beyond my control, but they don't define me. Otherwise, what happens? Everything that happens outside in this world defines my identity. Everything that happens out there ends up defining my own state, and therefore he says sandrishyate kvacha yadidam avastu buddhya. There is no longer confusion. Experiences appear again and again, but then I have already recognized. It's not that I deny experience. It's not about denying experience. It is about deepening my experience, realizing they are not essential to my true identity. Tyaktam brahmaya na bhavet smritiranipatat. Thus the mind no longer falls back into the earlier Brahma of misidentification. I no longer identify myself with what happens out in the external world. What happens out in the external world does not shake me, does not change my own state of calm. So Krishna therefore says, that such is a person who realizes. So look at the flow of this verse and how there is stabilization of the mind. First, the vision has to turn inwards. Drishtim tatah pratinivritya. Step 1. Now, essentially, we are looking at 8 steps here. Step 1, vision turning inwards. Step 2, nivritta trishnaha. The desire, the longing to go after what is out there in the world slowly subsides. Number 2. Number 3, tushnim bhaven. Inner silence appears. Nija sukhanubhavaha. Natural joy arises. Step 4, nirihaha. When the natural joy, I start to taste my own natural joy, then my striving softens. Nirihaha. That is step number 5. Sandrishyate kvacha yadidam avastu buddhya. The world is still out there. Everything is happening. Events unfold. Experiences come and go. Emotions come and go. But it no longer defines my identity. That is step 7. And step 8, Tyaktam brahmaya na bhavet smritiranipatat. Delusion does not remain. This is the beautiful insight that Krishna is giving. There is no need to deny the experiences, deny the variety in the world. It is essentially to realize that it is just correcting my location in this world. Once I destroy the knot between my identity and my experiences, once that knot is cut, then I experience that supreme state of joy. I act in this world, but my completeness was never at stake. Whatever happens out there is not going to define my true identity. Teham chanashwaram avasthitam uttitham va siddho na pashyati yatodhyagamat swarupam deivadapetamata deiva vasadupetam vaso yata parikritam adhira madandaha. Again, as we have been seeing in Hamsa Gita, Krishna refers to these beautiful analogies that Hamsa was giving to all the Sanat Kumaras. Here another beautiful analogy of a drunkard, Madira Madandaha, a state where person becomes completely oblivious to external details. He says, Deham cha nashwaram avastitam uttitam va. A realized person is siddha. A siddha is one who has realized, who has understood this truth about the cause for bondage being this misidentification. Now, for such a siddha, for such a realized person, deham cha nashwaram, having recognized one's true nature, no longer identifies with the deha, which is nashwara, which is perishable. He understands that. Avastitam uttitam va, the body, the deha, which is not only perishable, it also continues to keep changing, undergoing changing all the time. Siddha na pashyati. Just as he does not see. What does he not see? Now he says, na pashyati yato adyagamat swarupam Deivadapetamata deva vasat upetam paso yata parikritam madira madandaha. Now, madira madandaha, a drunkard is completely oblivious of what is happening around to such an extent that whether one's dress is properly worn or not worn is completely unknown to the drunkard. The dress may fall off. It may be, in good position. It may not be so. It may be torn. It may not be torn. He's completely oblivious of what it is. So similarly, now here, once again, Krishna is referring to the analogy of the deha, the body, through a dress that the Atman wears. Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya navani grinnati naroparani. So, in the Gita, Krishna refers to the body as a dress that the Atman wears. The Atman wears the dress just like one picks up a new piece of dress, wears it. Now, the dress has a time period, a utility. After a while, the dress wears out. And then once the dress is worn out, one throws it away, discards it, and picks up one more new dress and wears it. So, the dress keeps wearing out. The dress is meant to be worn out. And similarly, the body also wears out. The body at the time of birth, the body starts to grow. Slowly, it keeps undergoing changes. It is meant to undergo change. It is meant to undergo decay. And it is meant to undergo eventually destruction. That is the nature of the body. Now, the Siddha realizes this. He realizes this just like how a drunkard doesn't care for whether the dress is properly worn, whether it is getting worn out, whether it is in place, whether it is not in place. Similarly, for the realized soul, he sees that the body is wearing out, it is changing, but he is not really shaken. Why? Because before realization, one's identity is the body and the roles that the body assumes and the experiences with which the body as an instrument becomes. The experiences are through the body. But after realization, the body is still important, is still a very important instrument, but then the experiencer knows that ultimately what is happening to the body does not belong to the indwelling Atman. So essentially, the absorption here, when the analogy is very, very beautiful here. A drunkard, one who is intoxicated. There are two kinds of intoxications. Intoxication with the world, intoxication with the world maker. When one is intoxicated with the world, one is in samsara. When one is intoxicated with the world maker, then one is on the pathway of liberation. So here, therefore, intoxication is a beautiful example. In both the cases, one is completely oblivious. One is intoxicated truly with alcohol. One is oblivious to one's physical dress. One who is intoxicated with Bhagavan is oblivious to the dress, which is also physical, but not we are talking about this outer dress. We are talking of the dress which is the deha, the dress for the Atman, completely oblivious. So he says, Vaso yata parikritam madira madandaha. Just like clothing put on and worn. One who is intoxicated, drunkard, doesn't really mind. Similarly, the embodied being does not really get shaken, because one keeps saying the body is changing every day. One is aging day after day, and the decay is happening, but it does not really shake one's consciousness. And then Krishna continues, Dehopi deva vashagah kalu karma yavat swarambhakam pratisamikshata yeva sasuhu tamsa prapanchamadiruda samadhi yogaha swapnam punarna bhajate pratibuddha vastuhu. Very, very beautiful shloka. He says, Dehopi deva vashagah kalu karma yavat. There is a clear realization now. The body will continue under the governance of Daiva, Prarabdha karma. As long as the karma is there, that is initiated remains, the utility of the body is there. Swarambhakam pratisamikshata eva sasuhu. The life force simply observes the unfolding of the karma. Now, as the body is undergoing all the changes, one recognizes this is nothing but the unfolding of one's own prarabdha, which is being governed by Bhagavan. Tamsa prapancham adiruda samadhi yoga. Adiruda samadhi yoga. Adiruda, one who has ascended to that state of total absorption in realization. Samadhi yoga here is that realization of the nature of the world, one's own realization and one's relationship with Krishna. Now, I am the conscious self. I am sustained by the Supreme, and this world is also sustained by the same Supreme, and therefore one becomes unshakable. One becomes totally stable. Tamsa prapancham adiruda samadhi yogaha swapnam punarna bhajate pratibuddha vastuhu. Looks like Hamsa he had a liking for Swapna dream analogy. The dreamology again continues. Swapnam punarna bhajate pratibuddha vastuhu. Just like how once I come out of the dream, I don't any longer identify with my dream character. Similarly, I know that I am not meant to identify with my roles that I play in this world. I play several roles, but I also understand that I am the role player and I am not the roles that I play. The roles belong to the body. The body belongs to the field of Prakriti. And this entire world is the field of Prakriti. Everything that is happening in this field of Prakriti is in a flux of change. But then I am not subject to any of these changes. And when I realize this, that is a state of being stable and unshakable. That is ascending to that state of Samadhi Yoga. Adhiruda Samadhi Yogaha Swapnam Punarna Bhajate Pratibuddha Vastuhu. Essentially, Krishna here is striking how to actually strike the middle path to clarify one's understanding. There can be two extremes. One extreme is worldly ignorance, completely mistaking that I am the body and completely attaching with the world, and every experience is not only my experience, every experience is me. Everything that is happening out there is happening to me. This is worldly ignorance. This is one extreme. The other extreme is denial of the world. Nothing is real. Experiences are not real. And total denial. Now, both of these are two extremes. Krishna here is striking a middle path. He says, the clarity here is, the body is real. My senses are real. My experiences are real. The world out there is real. But what is not real is my identification. The problem is my misidentification. So essentially, the problem is I do not belong to this flux of changes, which is Prakriti. I transcend this flux of changes. Therefore, as long as I stay identified with what is changing, I'm always shaken. The moment I cut this identification with what is changing, there is no reason for me to be shaken at all. I remain stable. And that exactly is what Krishna is saying. And then he says, Mayeta duktam vo vipra guhyam yat sankhya yogayo Janitam agatam yajnam yushmad dharma vivakshaya. This is where Krishna now connects where he started, where this conversation started. The Sanakadis looked at Bhagavan, who appeared right in front of them as Hamsa. And then what was their first reaction? They said, "Who are you?" And immediately Bhagavan started the conversation saying, "The question that you are asking is totally wrong." Now, here he begins to connect there as to why that "who are you" is wrong. No, obviously, suddenly we were thinking, already we spent one full session on discussing this "who are you." Is that session going to continue? Yes, but I am sure we'll find a beautiful answer to that will hopefully put to rest whatever confusion we had in that session here. Mayeta duktam vo vipra. Looking at all the Sanakadis, he says, "Hey Vipraha, this has been spoken by me to you." What I know, he is essentially making this conclusion. What is this that has been spoken? Guhyam yat sankhya yoga yoho. No, I have spoken to you the essence of two things: Sankhya and Yoga. No, Sankhya is science of analysis. What we have seen throughout Hamsa Gita. No, Krishna gives us a very, very beautiful framework for us to understand the structure of reality. How do we understand the structure of reality? How do we analyze? What is this nature of this world? What is the nature of the individual soul, the Atman? What is the relationship? And what is the relationship with the Paramatma? And that analysis, and how do I analyze my own experiences? What do experiences really mean? I, the experiencer, am I the only experiencer, or I am a co-experiencer? Even my experience is sustained by Bhagavan, because without him, even experiencing does not happen. So we've gone through the entire framework of how to analyze Sankhya and then Yoga. The essence of Sankhya, essence of Yoga. Yoga is the aspiration of the Jivatma to unite with the Paramatma. So that the essence of what it means to essentially get liberated from this bondage and attain Bhagavan, I have explained to you in detail. Janitamam agatam yajnam. Now he says, you asked me, who are you? Let me answer you who I am. Now he says, Janitam agatam yajnam. Beautiful answer, very profound. And he says, Yushmad Dharma Vivakshaya. In order to teach, why did I explain all of this to you? To teach you and clarify what is your Dharma. See, again, he comes back to the same, what is my Dharma only. Wherever we go, whatever we discuss, ultimately it comes back to answering the same question. Now, what is Dharma for you, hey Sanakadis? In order to address that question, this is what I've explained to you. You wanted to know who I am. Janitamagatam yajnam bhudbhavasvastarustaraha savita prapitabagaha yajno yajnapatir yajva yajnango yajnavahanaha. Vishnu Sahasranama clearly says Bhagavan is Yajna himself. Now here therefore he says, know me as Yajna. I am Yajna. Yajno vai Vishnuhu, the Vedas say. Bhagavan, Vishnu, is also called Yajna. That is why Bhishmacharya identifies him with the Nama Yajna. But it's very interesting. Here, as Amsavatara, he could have said, I am Narayana, I am Vishnu, I am Vasudeva. But he specifically chooses, I am Yajna, because the Nama Yajna also has relevance to what is the discussion that has been happening here. Now, Krishna also in the Gita in the 9th chapter beautifully says, Aham kratur aham yajna swadaham aham oshadam mantroham eva aham evajyam aham agnir aham hutam, he says. Now, this happens in the 9th chapter. A similar shloka also is there in the 4th chapter. Sometimes it is very important for us to see how Krishna connects the dots. A similar shloka, can anyone guess a similar shloka which is there in the 4th chapter? The 9th chapter shloka is Aham kraturaham yajnah swadaham aham aushadam mantroham ahamevajyam aham agni aham hutam. In the 4th chapter there is a profound shloka. Brahmapanam brahmahavir brahmagnau brahmanahutam brahmaivatena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. In the context of explaining yajna, Krishna takes up that shloka. Brahmarpanam brahmahavihi brahmagnau brahmanahutam brahmaivatena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. I am, therefore, there he says Brahma, the ladle with which a yajna is performed is that Parabrahman. The oblation is that Parabrahman. The offering is that Brahman. The performer of the yajna is that Brahman. The fire is that Brahman. The very yajna is that Brahman. The karma that is being performed is that Brahman. Connects it with there. Who is that Brahman? That Brahman is Aham. Aham katuraham yajnah swadaham aham aushadam. Now, there that Brahman is that all-pervading Brahman. When Krishna says Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam, he's not saying there is nothing other than Brahman. The ladle is there, the fire is there, the performer of the yajna is there, the yajna homakunda is there, everything is there, but everything is Brahmatmaka. Everything is pervaded by Bhagavan, that Parabrahman. Everything is all pervading. And therefore, that which is all pervading, hey Arjuna, is also standing right in front of you. There, he talked about the all pervading Brahman. Later in the 9th chapter, looking at Arjuna, he says, Aham kraturaham yajnah swadaham. So, hey Arjuna, that all pervading Brahman is also the one who is standing right in front of you. It's like saying, Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatmasu durlabha bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate. Vasudeva sarvamiti. He says Vasudeva sarvamiti. Vasudeva is everything. Then, but he doesn't say sarvam prapadyate. He says mam prapadyate. Vasudeva sarvamiti, Arjuna, mam prapadyate only. Very important to understand. He connects in the 4th chapter, everything is Brahmatmaka. In the 9th chapter, that all-pervading Parabrahman is the same as the one who is standing right in front of you. He is all-pervading, he is immanent, he also is transcendent, he is also apart from. Vasudeva is everything, everything is not Vasudeva. And here, when he says Aham Yajna, and this is exactly what, as Hamsa, he has been teaching. It is essentially, it is important to understand that this entire world, this field of experience is sustained by Bhagavan. He is all pervading. He is not far away from me. He is not at a far distance from me. When I experience the world, in a way I am experiencing Krishna. No. So therefore, we should not deny an experience saying there is no experience. The world is real because the world belongs to Bhagavan. The world of experience is real. Now, when I deepen my experience, I realize that the one who is sustaining every experience, the sustainer of the world is Krishna. So therefore, in a way, I am experiencing him all the time because he is inseparable from me. He is inseparable from the world. There is no way that I cannot be separated out from him, which means every experience of mine is essentially pointing out to the substratum of all experiences. Beyond all the changes that I see, the substratum on which everything that is anchored in this world is that Parabrahman, that Krishna. So therefore he uses yajna. Janita magatam yajnam yushmad dharma vivakshaya. Therefore know me as that yajna. I am the one who is yajna, who brings order to everything that you see. And beautifully he leads. He says, I am yajna, aham yogasya sankhyasya satyasya ritasya tejasaha parayanam vijasreshthah shriyaha kirter damasya cha. He continues, aham yogasya, I am the ultimate goal of all yoga that you do. Aham sankhyasya, I am the goal of all analysis that you can do. Aham satyasya, I am the foundation of truth. Aham ritasya, I am the foundation of all the cosmic order. Aham tejasaha, I am the foundation of everything that is brilliant. Parayanam Dvijasreshtaha, I am the supreme refuge. Shriyaha Kirter Damasyacha, I am the ultimate source of all abundance. I am the ultimate source of all glory. I am the ultimate source of all self-mastery. Now let us come back to the question. Who are you? And why that who are you is wrong. When I look at Bhagavan and I ask him, who are you? That question comes with an assumption of a framework where I am independent entity, he is independent entity, and we are independent entities in this world, within this world, which is an independent entity. Who are you essentially means the object I am questioning is an independent entity in the system within which I am looking at that object. Krishna is an object, no doubt. He is also the objective. He is an object and he is the objective. The question, who are you, is an incomplete question. It is an incomplete question because of this wrong assumption. And the moment I realize that he is not just someone like any other entity in this world, then I realize, now let me give a simple analogy for this to understand. There is a new recruit who goes to an organization and he sees the owner, the chairman, the CEO, all rolled into one, the who is who of that organization. And when the recruit asks, who are you? One way to say is, let's say that owner's name is also Krishna. He says, I am Krishna. Now, does that answer, I am Krishna, does it really give the right answer to the question, who are you? Just by knowing the name, does this person who has asked this question, who are you, does he get a real complete answer? It's a very partial answer. No. This owner of the organization can say, hey, I am sales, I am marketing, I am finance, I am procurement, I am this organization. How is it even possible? Because for the owner, everything in the organization is created by the owner. Everything runs for the pleasure of the owner. Everything, every department represents the power of the owner. It is the power of the owner which sustains everyone and everything within this organization. As far as the organization is concerned, Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshihi Nivasaha Sharanam Suhurt. That owner. The owner is the Gati of the organization. He is the Nivasa of the organization. He is the Sharanam of this organization. He is the Suhrita of the organization. Therefore, for me to look at him and say, who are you? The right answer would be, that question is very impartial. It is incomplete. The answer to the question will be known when I know that this organization is created by that person. The vision of this organization runs this entire organization. It is the will of that owner which essentially runs every process within the organization. Everybody in the organization essentially is representing his will. Everybody is empowered to act only because of him. Everybody belongs to him. He is taken care of everybody. He is the support. He is the sustainer. And I also am part of this ecosystem which belongs to him. Only when I know all of this, then I get a complete answer to the question, who are you? So the question, who are you, is a partial incomplete question. It is a wrong question. Instead, Krishna says the right question should have been, how do I know you? How do I understand you? What should I know you as? It is not who are you? What should I know you as? How do I know you? How do I understand you? That is the reason why when the question on his identity is asked, he dissolves that question and he reveals reality. The Sanakadis ask, hey Bhagavan, who are you? Krishna says, the answer to that question, who are you, you will get it when you start knowing who you are. When you start getting the answer to the question, what is the nature of this world? When you start getting answer to the question, how do you experience this world? When you start getting answer to the question, why you are bound to this world of matter. And it is in knowing that answers to these questions that you will eventually get to know the answer to the question, who are you? Then you will know the right question to ask Bhagavan. Because Bhagavan is not somebody new to be known. When we say, who are you? It is like somebody new to be introduced. Bhagavan is always there. We are constantly experiencing. It is like when we are searching him everywhere, we are searching for him when he is always with us. In our thoughts, in our experiences, in everything that we do. So therefore, it is not about answering who am I. It is about essentially removing the screen that reveals reality. The moment I understand reality, immediately I understand the relationship with him. Just like this new recruit, the moment he knows how to understand that person, that owner there, that's when he gets the complete answer to his question of who he actually is. So therefore, Krishna here says, so you wanted to know who I am? Hamsa, as Hamsa he says, aham yogasya sankyasya satyasya ritasya tejasaha parayanam vijasreshtaha shiyaha kirte damasya cha. If you really look at the shloka, Krishna is essentially answering some very fundamental question here. Everything that we endeavor in this world, whatever we do in our life and living, it falls in one of these domains. What are these domains is listed? Knowledge. When he says Sankhya, referring to essentially knowledge there. Yoga, various kinds of disciplining, mastering ourselves. Truth, Satya, Rita, order, Teja, strength, and then Shriya, abundance, prosperity, Kirti, honor, fame, Dhamma, self-mastery. Anything that we pursue falls in one of these categories. And what he's saying, all of this, everything in life, knowledge, discipline, prosperity, order, virtue, anything that you do becomes meaningless when it is not connected to the ultimate foundation, which is me. Because ultimately, all of this have one foundation. Everything is a pathway to the Supreme. When I look each of them in isolation, everything is fragmented to me. But when I see all of this are actually leading to him, knowledge is leading to him, discipline is leading to him, truth is leading to him, order is leading to him, prosperity is leading to him, self-mastery is leading to him, my self-fame is leading to him. All the talents that I have, all the resources that have been given to me is all only because of discovering the pathway that leads to him. Because everything is leading to that foundation, that Supreme. If that is the case, should you be really asking me, who are you? That's the subtle. So essentially, therefore, he goes back and connects it. All the Sanakadis are thrilled. And then he says, Mam bhajanti gunas sarve, nirgunam, nirapekshakam, suhridam, priyamatmanam, samsayangadayo aguna. So therefore, what is need to be done? Because he says, I will also clarify what is your dharma. Your dharma is knowing this, nature of reality, mam bhajanti gunaha, sarve gunaha. Keep worshipping me, be immersed in my gunanubhava. He says, I am nirgunam, nirapekshakam. Yes, I am always one with this world. The world belongs to him. Just because the world has defects does not mean these defects can be ascribed to him. He is beyond the three gunas of Prakriti. Therefore, he is nirgunam, nirapekshaka. I have no expectations from you. All that you, because I am your suhrud. I am always looking to take care of your well-being, and therefore, Priyamatmanam. I am the dearest to you, and you are my dearest. And without any doubt, continue to do this. This is your dharma, hey Sanakadis. And essentially, this answers that fundamental question that the Sanakadis had. Essentially, what we should do, because their question essentially was, Brahma created us for us to work on the Nitya, the process of creating every day, do the Nitya karma that he wanted. What should we be doing? Krishna says, you should be doing Nitya Bhajana, that being immersed in the Kalyana Gunas. Iti me chinna sandeha, muneyaha, sanakadayaha, sabhajayitva paraya, bhaktya samstavaihi. Hey Uddhava, thus all the doubts of the Sanakadis were completely destroyed. Chinna sandeha. And fully worshipping me with love, they chanted my glories. Now, we must remember that Krishna is recounting to Uddhava that conversation that happened between Hamsa and the Sanakadis. Tairaham pujitas samyak samstataha paramarshibhihi pratyayaya swakam dhama pashyataha parameshtinaha. Headed by the Sanakas, thus worshipping me as they were glorifying me, praying to me, worshipping me, I decided that the purpose of my avatara as Hamsa has come to a conclusion, and therefore I departed. I took leave, and then as Brahma was noticing, and as Pratyaya Swakam Dhama Pashyataha Parameshtinaha, I returned to my very abode as Brahma was looking on. So thus comes an end to this beautiful conversation between Sanakadis and Hamsa, which Krishna narrates to Uddhava. So which is celebrated as Hamsa Gita. Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu.